Hello, hello, hello. Happy Sunday morning. Happy December. Happy holidays. It is so good to see each and every one of you. It's so good to be here with each and every one of you as we gather on this beautiful Sunday morning to celebrate the truth of who and whose we are, the magnificence and significance of God in, through, and as us. Let us begin, as we always do, with prayer. And so I invite you right here and now to just take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Another conscious breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. The breath of God is breathing us. The love of God is love in us. The peace of God is peace through us. Right here and right now, I remember that there is one mind, one power, one presence that is working in all, through all, and as all. There is one life, and that life is our life now. This power is the thing that is back of, behind, and underneath all things. I call it Mother, Father, God. And I know that God is omniscience, all knowledge and wisdom. I know that God is omnipresence, present here and now and everywhere, at all times, constantly encountered. I know that God is love itself. I know that God is peace itself. I know that God is freedom itself. I know that God is absolute, unadulterated, unhindered, and unlimited expression, abundance, and prosperity. And I know that it is here now. And as I know that God is here now, because it neither comes nor goes, I know that we are here now, which means we must live, we must move, we must have our being in this beauty, this power, this love that we call God. We are one with it and one of it. We are the wave and God is the ocean. And so as I know this is true, I now speak this word in faith. I speak this word in faith over this service, this gathering, this stream, this time that we are together, and I call it good now. I call it abundant now. I call it filled and full of information and insight and enlightenment now. I know that each of us will receive exactly what we need to receive, and I know that each of us will leave here differently than when we walked in. We walked in joy, we will be more joyful. We walked in needing an answer, we will get that answer. We walked in needing to be uplifted, and we are uplifted now. I hold on to that knowing and let it be now. Because I know that all of God, all of life is responding to the word that I speak in faith and with expectation. So now with that faith, with that joy, with that expectation, and with gratitude, I release this prayer back into the law, that thing that is doing the work, that thing that is always in operation, and I let it do its work magnificently, efficiently, and elegantly. For this truth, we are so very grateful, and together we say, amen.
And
Ashe.
Ashe.
And so it is.
So it is.
So it must be. So it must be. Well, hello again. Happy Sunday. Good morning, good day, good evening, good afternoon, whichever time you happen to find yourself watching the stream. It is good, and it is good to be here with you. Let's see, we've been off a week, so it's wonderful to be back here with each and every one of you. I hope that your Thanksgiving holiday and weekend was safe and fun and relaxing and stress-free.
And tasty.
Yes, and delicious, all of those things. We're just glad to be back together again. Now, I know there may be just one who's here for the very first time, and we, of course, especially would like to say hello to you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing to stream today. We know that, of course, ministries and communities are streaming, just about everybody is nowadays. And so we feel good that you chose to hang out with us right here and right now. If you would like to stay in touch with us, it's very easy to do that. You see the information here on your screen. Just text the word welcome to 347-472-1078. Just text the word welcome. No additional messages are needed, and you'll receive an automatic reply with a link. Tap that link, enter your information, and submit it. That link takes you to our digital connection card. Submit that information, and then you're all set. You'll actually receive a text message that says that. You're all set, and you're on our mailing list, and you'll receive our weekly email. But more importantly, know that we're here. We're here each and every Sunday. Again, if this is your first time, you'll see that on YouTube, we have lots of playlists and sermon series and music that you can access, and classes and workshops that you can access. And we also have those videos available to you on Facebook as well. With that said, as I said, you may want to be on our newsletter on our mailing list to get our weekly email to know what's going on at CSC. So let's talk a little bit about that because we have a few announcements, and then we can move into the good stuff like the meditation, the music, and the message. We are a church that believes in prayer. We are a church that is founded in and on prayer. And so each and every Wednesday morning, we gather together at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Momentum Prayer Call. It's a wonderful way to continue the momentum that we create here on Sundays. And it's also a way to maybe jumpstart the momentum, depending on what your Monday and Tuesday was like. This is also a wonderful way to just be in the habit of prayer and align and set the tone for your day. The information is here on your screen. It's also in your email if you're on our mailing list. It's very easy. Just call in, enter the access code, and wait. But as you also see, there's a playback number. And so you can access the most recent prayer 24/7 anytime by calling that number and entering the access code and waiting. And the most recent prayer will play. We highly encourage you to make use of that. And you can share, that information with others, particularly this time of year. Around the holidays, folks are grieving, folks are feeling challenged in so many different ways, and so you can offer this gift of prayer to your friends and loved ones. We also know you may have a prayer request, and so it's very easy to send in that prayer request. Just send an email to prayerchampions@celebratonsc.org. Those emails are received and read by our prayer champions as well as myself and PY. We are always holding the highest watch for the entire community, but we know sometimes there's just a specific request, there's a specific need, there's a specific desire, and we are happy to hold that space with you. As you send the prayer, see yourself releasing it. Right? I cast this burden on the mind of God and I go free. Know that that's how you make room for the answer. That's how you make room for insight and to know what it is that you are to do as you are standing in knowing and faith and expectation. God Talk Sunday, and this will be the last God Talk of 2021.
That's interesting.
On the third Sunday, December 19th, at 1 o'clock after service. The God Talk is an opportunity to ask questions. We know that this New Thought Path brings up a lot of questions, and we know that there's a lot of unlearning that we have to do. And so while you may love what you hear and love what we're teaching, there's the challenge in applying it. There's the challenge in living it. And so we want to support you in asking any questions. No question is off limits. We've been doing this since we opened our doors. It's one of our favorite things to do at CSC and about CSC. And because we're virtual, this will happen on Zoom. And so you have to be on our mailing list in order to get the link and password to access the God Talk. So for our first time guests, you'll see the information later on in the stream again of how to join our mailing list. But I'm pretty sure you want to be a part of the God Talk because it is incredibly beneficial.
Yes.
Reminder about our upcoming service schedule. So we will be meeting this month for 3 Sundays. And December 26th, we will not have service. We will not be streaming. However, we will have our Celebrate New Year's Eve service as we do every year on New Year's Eve at 7 p.m. It will be a virtual event, which will be followed by a virtual toast where we will gather together on Zoom and we can talk and share our gratitude for the year and reflect on the good that we've experienced. And then because New Year's Day falls on a weekend, we are going to observe the holiday weekend, and so we will not have service on January 2nd. We'll continue to remind you of these things over the next few Sundays. But again, no service on December 22nd, New Year's Eve service on December 31st, and then no service on January 2nd. December 21st, we do something that we do every year on the winter solstice, taking advantage of the time that the winter solstice brings, of the darkness and going within. We use this time for visioning. And so I will be leading a visioning session on December 21st at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It'll be streamed here on Facebook and here on YouTube. What I also will do is be teaching about visioning. So you hear me talk about visioning a lot and referring to visioning in various sermons. And I think you have to understand the process a bit. And so I'll teach about what visioning is and then guide you through a powerful visioning session that you can use, and that will be available through New Year's Day, so that you can come back to it and vision as often as you'd like. It's something that is always a joy to me, and I know is of great benefit to the community. So set the date, put it in your calendar. If you can't be there on that particular day, make sure you set aside time to access that video between the 21st and January 1st. And that is all we have for announcements right here and now, so we can move into the meditation.
Well, it is a new month and a new opportunity to practice the experience of connection to the divine, a new opportunity to remember truth, to affirm it, to bring our mind back to it whenever we need. This month, the affirmation is, God's peace and joy are mine. It's a beautiful statement from A Course in Miracles that I love. It's lesson 105. It's talking about this idea that this gift of joy and peace are freely given to us, and that we don't have to do anything in return for them except to receive them. And the more we receive it, the more we open to it, the more it fills us, the more we become inundated with that sensation of peace and joy. It's not something we have to barter to receive. We don't have to be a good person to receive God's peace and joy. All we have to do is allow it and claim it. And so this month we're going to practice that. Practice taking the breath and saying the affirmation and allowing God's joy and peace into our nervous system, into our minds, into our lives. God's joy and peace are yours. So, let's begin. Go ahead and look around the room. Notice where you are and that you're safe. Whether you're seated upright in a chair, on your bed, on a sofa, but just make sure that you're seated upright. And because the energy needs a clear path to flow through the body, we always make sure that we align ourselves. Ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips, so that you're not leaning too far forward or too far back, which allows the spine to stack beautifully on top, each vertebra on top of the other, and allowing that energy to flow nice and easy on that channel as the breath moves in and out. As I like to say, this experience of God is not something that we just read about. It's something that we viscerally feel. We feel it just like we feel the breath. We feel it just like we feel the heart beating. And so now, from this place, shoulders over hips, plant the palms on the tops of the thighs, and now, close your eyes. As we take this journey inward, and we just notice the breath, because the prana, the energy of life, flows on the breath. And as we notice, we make no judgment of whether the breath appears to be deep or appears to be shallow. We just allow it to flow, just like God's joy and peace. Take a few seconds here to notice the breath right where it is, and to be able to relax into just noticing the breath. Beautiful. And now, let's take conscious control of the breath as we send it deep into the belly. We want to elongate the breath and fill up our lungs and fill up the body and allow that oxygenation to move through our cells. If you like, you can plant the right hand on the low belly and kind of use that as a guide. As you inhale, expand the low belly and allow the hand to fill with the belly and the breath. Hold it there. Open the mouth, relax the jaw, and sigh it out. Hand follows breath. Navel draws towards the spine. And again, same path, different experience. Inhale, expand the low belly. Take your time, count to 4. Hold it there. And open the mouth, release the breath, sigh it out. As we notice the breath, we allow whatever sounds are in the room to be in the room. And now, inhale, expand the low belly, up through the rib cage. Breath expands across the front and the sides, the back of the body. Count to 4. Hold it there. And when you're ready, sigh it out. Count to 4. Again, in through the low belly, up through the rib cage, trying not to collapse the shoulders or the body, making room. And just as we expand to make room for the breath, we make room for more of God's joy and peace. Hold it there. Now sigh it out. Extending the breath in through the low belly, up through the rib cage, now up through the heart center. That chakra which is at the center of the chest, across the front, across the back. Breathe into it. Nice slow count. Hold it there. And sigh it out. Again, navel draws towards the spine, but there is no collapse. It's just emptying. Making room for more breath. Let's practice this full breath in through the low belly, up through the rib cage, up through the heart, holding at the top. And when you're ready, exhaling, but this time closing the lips. Exhale through the nose. When we breathe in this fashion, in and out through the nose, we send a signal to the brain and to the body to relax. We also affirm by the simple movement that we are ready to receive more joy, more peace. Let's practice a few rounds. God's peace and joy are yours, are mine. This is not a gift that's given to be taken away. It is a gift that expands the more we accept it. God's peace and joy are mine. For I am worthy of more peace and more joy. Last time. And now, let's experience that peace and joy throughout our entire body, sending the breath and the focus and the truth of these words into our feet. Maybe you raise the heels if you're seated upright, or raise the toes or wiggle the toes. Our feet send us in the direction of our highest desire. And right now, that is joy and peace. Relax the feet, breathing there now. The peace that is gathered beneath our feet, the joy that wants to spring forth, now flows up through the soles of our feet, across our ankles. Relax the ankles. Unobstructed, this flow and feeling and vibration flow across our shins and our calves. Inhale, exhale. Relax the shins and the calves. Energy flows across our knees. We are flexible and we bend. We surrender to receive more, not to take away from ourselves. And so we receive more joy and peace. Relax the knees now. Energy flows across the thighs, across the hamstrings and the glutes. If you feel any tension there, breathe. Relax the thighs, the hamstrings, and the glutes. It's almost as if our lower body floats away on our acceptance of God's joy and peace. We relax. Energy gathered at the base of our spine is now free to flow upward. This Kundalini rises, inhaling, exhaling as the energy flows up. Inhale and exhale as the energy flows up. Again, inhale, making room for more joy and peace as we release the breath. That energy flows up, 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 and out the crown of our head. In our mind's eye, we feel and see it gathered above us. Whatever represents joy and peace for you, see it there now. And as we allow the joy and peace to flow back down through the crown, across the third eye, activating the throat so that we can speak more joy and peace into our lives, across our shoulders and down our arms, out our fingertips. At this point, scan your body and give yourself what you need. You may turn the palms up to receive more, or turn the palms down to ground more. If you notice any tension anywhere in the body, send the breath there now. See the breath as a gift, a package to unwrap, filled with God's joy and peace. As we prepare for our silent time, I will monitor. You just take the inward journey. If the mind wanders, know that it's just doing what the mind does and it is okay. When you become aware, take the breath and bring yourself back to this thought, this truth. God's joy and peace are mine, now and forever. Breathe, receive, and experience God now. With our eyes still closed, we enjoy this gift that we are receiving. We accept God's joy and peace. With our eyes still closed, we get to practice what A Course in Miracles says is the most important thing. Learning that this gift is given freely to us. There is nothing to fear. There is nothing to do in return. With our eyes still closed, we acknowledge the gift we've given ourselves. Because this gift will never lessen because we receive it. Because God gives its joy and peace freely. Let's begin to make our return. Nice and easy, eyes still closed. Let's elongate the breath. Full breath. And maybe we begin to wake the body very slowly, very lovingly. Wiggling the fingers of the toes. If the palms are turned up, turn them down. And that simple contact, maybe we begin to just wake the thighs. Stop the movement and bring the palms together at heart center and gently touch the thumbs into the sternum. Symbolically, we touch that location and bring our heart forward. We have nothing to fear. We just open to love, and we receive God's peace and joy. Bow your chin to your fingertips. Again, breathing nice and easy. Now slowly flutter the eyes open. No rush, nice gentle gaze, no strain on the eyes. Nothing to signal disturbance in this field of peace and joy. And together, inhale, raise the chin, raise the gaze, release the breath. Namaste.
Yes, yes. Namaste. Thank you, PY.
You're welcome.
So it is December. It is a new month, which means it's a new series. And all the world over, the song is being sung and played and heard in malls. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. There's something to prepare for. But for us, it's not about the birth of the Christ child. For us, it's not about the birth of a savior of the world, but using this reality and energy of the need to prepare for something. My desire is to support each and every one of you in preparing for the new year. So let every heart prepare 2022 room. And we're going to talk about how to do that with intention. We're going to talk about how to do that with love. And we're going to talk about how to do that in alignment with metaphysical principle and law. So today we're going to start with let's get intentional. But first, let's hear from Soul 21. I'll see you on the other side.
Yes, yes.
God looks good. God looks good because God is always working. God looks good as me. Show enough looks good in me because God is always working through me. God looks good. God is working. Ooh. God looks good and feels so good because God is working through me. Oh, working in and working through. I'm so grateful to know this truth. God looks good and God feels good. Always working. Yeah. God looks good at me. I woke up this morning with my mind held up. And I remembered the Lord that I am, the Lord that I am. I just got to restore because God is good and joy and peace and love and abundance is who I am. And that ain't no story. I am love. I'm the love of God made manifest. I'm God walking in love. And I walk surely, surely. I know I am love. I ain't dead 'cause I am love. I don't feel because I'm love. As me, in me, through me. Yes, yes. God looks good as each and every one of us. I am wearing divinity, the finest threads in the whole galaxy. Like diamonds, I'm a precious commodity. Yes, yes, oh yes, God looks good as me. Thank you, Soul 21, for that powerful song. It always feels so good. It always feels so good to hear that song and to hear and sit in that affirmation. So good morning again. Happy Sunday. It's wonderful to be here with you. And I am excited about this sermon series that I get the opportunity to share with you. I don't want to waste any time. Let's just get into it. Let's get into it. Now, as I just shared with you a few moments ago, we have this song, this Christmas carol that you will hear all month somewhere. Right? Let every heart prepare him room. Joy to the world, joy to the world. And there's something that we must prepare for. Now, the Christmas story tells us that Joseph and Mary received some daunting news, to say the least. Right? In Matthew, the way the Christmas story is told, it says that Joseph was told that Mary will bear a son, and you are to name him Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. The story as it's told in Luke, which is definitely the more familiar version of the Christmas story, the most used version of the Christmas story. Mary in Luke 1, she's told, he will be great, meaning Jesus, and will be called the Son of the Most High, and the Lord God will give him the throne of his ancestor David. He will reign over the house of Jacob forever, and his kingdom there will be no end. The child to be born will be holy. He will be called Son of God. All right, so they were given some news. It was some very, very daunting news, very surprising news. And one of the interesting things about this news that they were given, this news was unequivocal and it was unambiguous, right? Nowhere in the story do we hear mights and maybes, right? This news was unequivocal and unambiguous. Now, not only did they need to begin preparing for the birth of their son, because this was unequivocal, they also needed to prepare to nurture, protect, guide, and support this new life as he moves into a world-changing purpose. And so just like Joseph and Mary in the Christmas story, we must prepare. But we are not giving birth to a Savior or to the Son of God. We are giving birth to a new year. We are giving birth to 2022. Just as Joseph and Mary were provided with a clear vision for what was to come, so we must also have a clear vision for what is to come in 2022, what will be our lives and what will be the truth of the affairs of our life. And so this starts with something very simple. As I said, the news that Joseph and Mary received was unequivocal and unambiguous. It was clear, C-L-E-A-R, clear what was going to happen. There wasn't a might, there wasn't a maybe, it looks like you might have a child that's going to be the Savior of the world. It wasn't a someday you're going to give birth to this kid and you name him Jesus, Emmanuel, God with us. It was clear. So the first step in preparing for 2022 is for each of us to get intentional. So today we're going to get intentional. And I just encourage you, you can't turn to your neighbor right now. If somebody's with you, turn to your neighbor and say, let's get intentional. But if you don't have anybody to turn to, put it in the comments right now. Let's get intentional. Let's get intentional. We understand just as the word that came to Joseph and Mary was unequivocal, it was unambiguous, it was clear, it wasn't a might, it wasn't a maybe, it wasn't a someday, it wasn't a one day, it wasn't a it looks like this might happen. It was clear. It was going to happen. And they needed to respond in kind. We are going to get intentional, removing mights, removing maybes, removing it look likes, removing some days. Let's get intentional. And so the first thing that's necessary for us to get intentional is to get hoping and wishing out of our system. You see, wishing and hoping for a good year will not bring about the results you desire. I love how R.H.J. talks about it in the short book, It Works, where he says, most wishes are simply vocal expressions. See, it's a whole lot of people talking loud and create nothing. They talking about what they wish they could have and hope they might have and what they wish 2022 will be and sending wishes to others and sending hopes to others. But it's filled with a lot of one days this will happen. It's filled with a lot of some days this will happen. It's filled with a lot of maybe one time in my life I can have this experience. It's filled with hoping and wishing for good, but it is absent of believing and knowing that good is already yours, that you are worthy to be, do, and have even more good. Talking loud and create nothing. So getting intentional for 2022 means naming what you will be, naming what you will do, naming what you will have in 2022. Getting intentional means being definite about what you will be, do, and have in 2022. And so when we talk about being definite, I love that word because it's a word that we find used often by Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich. he also writes in the chapter on desire, which is the starting point of all achievement, that wishing will not bring you riches rather. And so we find that any credible teacher is going to always remind you that we got to get out of the space of hoping and wishing. That's not how we create the life that we desire. That's not how we attract the life that we desire. And that's not how we get intentional. And so again, I say getting intentional means being definite about what you will be, do, and have in 2022. Let's talk about that word definite. It's a beautiful word because it points back to what I said earlier about Joseph and Mary and the vision that was given to them. Definite means free of all ambiguity, uncertainty, or obscurity. Unquestionable. Decided. Wonderful word. And then when we think about the word definite, the root of definite is define. So we can look at it another way and say that getting intentional is defining your year. And I want you to take a breath on that for a second. Take a breath. Take that in. Have you ever thought about your year in this way? Yeah, we set intentions for our year. And, some of you are in my 90 Days to Greatness class right now, 2022 Jumpstart. Some of you have taken that class with me in the past. Others have done other processes, right? Something specific and deliberate to create and attract more good in your new year. But have you ever thought about your year in this way? That getting intentional is defining your year. So how will you define 2022? You see, there are many that are already defining 2022 for you. There are news outlets and media reporters that are forecasting what 2022 will be for most people. There are folks that are forecasting what the economy will look like in 2022. There are those that are forecasting what the unemployment rate will look like in 2022. There are those that are forecasting how many new millionaires will be created in 2022, how many new billionaires will be created in 2022. There are those that are forecasting how many people will fall below the poverty line in 2022. There are people that are forecasting things just as simple as something that I love to look at. I was talking to PY about this the other day. Is forecasting what the popular colors are, right? Pantone and other organizations that deal with color and the design industry, they're talking about what are going to be the colors of the year, the popular colors, and that goes into fashion as well. People are forecasting what 2022 is. And so for most people, that's the definition. Right, it's being defined for them. If all indicators and reports are saying that 2022 is going to be a prosperous year and a wonderful year, and the stock market is going to rally, and this is going to happen, and that's going to happen, people become optimistic, right? And so it is for them, right? But if the forecasts are that things aren't going to go well, or things are going to be tough, or things are going to be tight, or the job market, there won't be a lot of new jobs, then so it is for those people. But the truth of life is that we have the opportunity to define our year. Maybe that definition is based on a word. Maybe that definition is based on an idea, but this is something to sit with. How will you define 2022? Because again, you are not most people. So let's get intentional. Now, there's another term that Napoleon Hill uses all throughout Think and Grow Rich, a term or a phrase that he uses, which is related to this idea of defining our year, because he talks about he writes about this thing called definiteness of purpose. And over throughout the text, he's reminding us that we have to have a definiteness of purpose. We have to have a definiteness of purpose along with other things. And so he writes that definite of purpose, knowing what one wants, is first and perhaps the most important step toward developing persistence. A strong motive forces one to surmount many difficulties. Now, this is rooted in what we read in Scripture, where we hear it quoted all the time, right? Without a vision, the people perish. And you all have heard me, I've shared with you that a better translation of that text, without a vision, the people perish, right? It leads us to just believe that you got to have a vision or you're just going to falter and die. But what that text is inviting us to understand in another translation is that Without a vision, the people cast off restraint. This is beautiful, right? It's not about perishing. Cast off restraint. Because what a vision does, a vision guides you. In the same way that you put on restraints on a horse so that you're now the one that's riding the horse, guiding the horse. If the horse doesn't have on restraints, it will go where it wants to go. And actually, it will probably, buck you off and knock you off and then go where it wants to go, right? And so by having those restraints, it now allows you to guide the horse left and right where it is that you want to go, right? Let's not use horse. Let's think about a car. Imagine a car without a steering wheel, right? And so that's what your vision is, right? Is the steering wheel, and that's why Napoleon Hill is saying that this is the most important step to developing persistence, right? Because if you don't have anywhere that you're going, you have nowhere to persist towards. Right? If I say I'm traveling from here in Brooklyn to Miami, right, that's where I'm traveling. And so maybe I get on the train and something happens with the train. Okay, well, now I got to rent a car. And something happens with the car. Okay, now I get on a plane. Right? I can continue to persist and continue to find and access ways to get me to my destination because I know where I'm going. But so many people have no definiteness of purpose. They do not know what they want first. Therefore, there's no way that you can be persistent or disciplined around anything. So do you know what you want? And when I ask this question, at this point in the process, it doesn't matter if you believe it's possible, right? It doesn't matter if you know how it will happen, because we know that the how is not our business. But do you know what you want? This is the time to get intentional. This is the time to get definite. This is the time to get even specific to a point about what it is that you will be, do, or have. It's important that you define your year. What does it feel like? What does it look like? What will you be experiencing? And so if you're ready to get intentional about 2022, then I have a wonderful exercise for you that will support you, and we'll kind of expand on this a little bit as we go throughout the weeks. But I have a wonderful exercise for you. It's a writing exercise that comes to us from Mark Allen, who's the writer of The Greatest Secret of All. You all may remember that I referred to him maybe about a month ago as I talked about the idea of course correction, right? That when a plane goes in the air, it's actually off course 90% of the time. And what we have the opportunity to do as we're pursuing what it is that the intention that we've set, as we are pursuing the definition for the year that we've set, is then it's about course correcting, right? And so in this text, he gives us a little tool that he calls the ideal scene. It's a writing exercise which will sound familiar to you, but we're going to use it in a specific way for 2022. So here are the instructions. Take a blank sheet of paper and at the top write my ideal scene for 2022. Okay? Then take a breath and imagine it's December 31st, 2022. And everything has gone well as you could possibly imagine. What does your life look like? What does your year look like? I'm going to say that again. Take a blank sheet of paper and write my ideal scene for 2022 at the top. Take a breath. And then imagine that it is the last day of 2022. It is December 31st, 2022. And everything has gone well as you could possibly imagine. What does your life look like? What does your year look like? And Mark Allen writes this. He says, put aside your doubts and fears and even realistic thinking for a moment. And imagine that you are at the end of the year and inspired by this sermon, inspired by this book, and so many other things in your life, you have created the life of your dreams. Let your imagination freely roam without any restrictions. Let your spirit soar. Let it be ideal at first. We'll deal with reality soon enough. And as Stephen Covey put it in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, begin with the end in mind. Again, this is interesting because we understand this on practical levels, right? If you're making a sweet potato pie, you begin with the end in mind. You know what the final result should look and taste like, right? If you're going on a trip, if I'm flying from Brooklyn to Paris, right? I'm beginning with the end in mind. Everything is about that destination. All of my planning, all of my looking for tickets, whatever I'm doing, all of my renewing my passport, whatever that looks like, I'm beginning because I have an end in mind. That's why I'm doing all the other things. We don't necessarily do that when it comes to our lives, right? We don't necessarily do that when it comes to being intentional about our relationships. We don't necessarily do that when it comes to being intentional about our businesses. We don't necessarily do that when it comes to being intentional about our careers. We don't necessarily do that when it comes to being intentional about our finances. Begin with the end in mind. You're at the last day of 2022, and everything has gone as well as you could possibly imagine. What does your life look like? What did your year look like? He goes on and he writes, what is your ideal? What kind of life do you have ideally? What do you do? What do you have? What have you accomplished? What kind of person are you? Where do you live? What does a typical day look like? Does your ideal scene include a life of ease? If so, include that. And keep this thought in mind. It is possible, I assure you, to create a wonderfully successful life and career and still have a life of ease, with plenty of time for family, friends, and yourself. And there's something important here, I think, as it relates to these questions, because so often we get excited about getting intentional about the new year, and we want to write down a bunch of stuff, right? And all the things that we want. Many times it are rooted in a sense of lack and emptiness, right? But I love that he's writing, what kind of person are you? Right? This is why I say, what do you want to be, do, and have in 2022? Right? Your beingness is very important. The things that you're doing should be a reflection of your being. And then because of your being, that is a reflection of your doing, your having reflects all of that, right? So what kind of life do you have? What do you do? What do you have? What have you accomplished? What kind of person are you? Where do you live? What does a typical day look like? So many wonderful things here. And he asks, does your ideal scene include a life of ease? I'm going to say, include a life of ease in your 2022 intention, right? This is something that I see often, and as we coach and counsel folks, there's a lot of stuff that people want to do and be, and still subtly, although we talk about it often, right? There's still struggle and hustle built into that, right? Include a life of ease. It is absolutely possible to have ease and be accomplished, to have ease and have success, to have rest and be accomplished, to have rest and have success. And so, as you create this ideal scene, I want you to spend some time with it. One of the things that will happen if you're excited today and you set aside some time to do it today, or whatever time you choose to do it, after you write everything out, other things may come to your mind later, right? If you take the time to do it today, and then tomorrow as you reflect on it, it's like, oh, wow, I forgot about that. Or something, you might see something on TV, or you have a conversation with someone and it sparks a new idea. Go ahead and add it, right? Go ahead and include it in your ideal scene. As you read and reread your ideal scene, you may realize that some of the things you wrote down are, as I said earlier, were really rooted in lack. We're really rooted in limitation. We're really rooted in you trying to fill some hole or a sense of unworthiness. And you realize that now. And so, or it just may be something that you're not really that excited about. Right? It sounded good at the moment, but it's like, I'm not really excited about it. Take it out. Remove it. I also want to encourage you that as you're writing this ideal scene, for some of you, you might write it out as a narrative, as a story, right? But for some of us, we don't we're not necessarily storytellers, right? We're not going to write a flowery narrative. Cool. Just, you can put it in as bullet points, right? Answering these questions, and then just give bullet points, right? What kind of life do you have? What do you do? What do you have? What have you accomplished? What kind of person are you? Where do you live, right? What does your day look like, right? What does your year look like? It can be bullet points, right? You don't have to write it as a narrative, and that might be easy as you start to add and take away. But here's the most important part of all of this, right? So let's take another breath. Once you have your ideal scene, you've worked with it a little bit, and you have something that really feels good, and it's like, wow, I've defined my year, and my year is a year of abundance. It's a year of opulence. It's a year of brilliance. It's a year of intention. It's a year of just good. You must make a decision to do the following, right? Now, this is important because we said we have to have a definiteness of purpose. We have to know what we want. We use that to then encourage and develop the habit of persistence. Persistence is how we ultimately will then attract what it is that we want. So first, you must make a decision and a commitment to yourself to read your ideal scene 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night. Okay. Second, you must make a decision and a commitment to think about what you want to be, do, and have as often as possible, especially when doubt and fear and uncertainty inevitably show up. You are making a commitment to go back to what you have written and remind your mind of what you are co-creating with God, what you are co-creating with life, what you are co-creating with spirit. And by making that commitment and decision to come back to your ideal scene when the fear, doubt, and worry shows up, this will become an affirmation. It will become a prayer. It will become an anchor for you. And finally, you must make a decision, and you must make a commitment to practice the hush your mouth principle. What does that mean? Don't talk about this to anybody. This is between you and God. One of the easiest ways that we pour water on the fire of our desire, the fire of our intentions that we've set, is talking to folk and allowing folk to give their opinions on your definition for your year. See, because if you're going to talk to folk about it, then you might as well just do what everybody else out here is doing. And when they read or hear a report about what 2022 is going to be, like, oh, okay, it's going to be a good year. All right. Oh, it's going to be an okay year. All right. Oh, it's going to be a bad year. All right. You got to practice the hush your mouth principle. Okay. There's a time when you'll be able to talk about some of this stuff. And of course, when you're in gratitude and celebration, as you begin to manifest the fruits of this work, absolutely share it, right? Because then those people that may have been naysayers, they want to know, well, what were you doing or how did you do it, right? And then you can share the process. But talking about this, your ideal scene and your definition for the year, talking about this with others and not, instead of just talking to God in you about it, is the equivalent of digging up a seed that you've placed in the ground. Right? So there's a natural correspondence to this. This is not something spooky. It's not superstitious. It's not even that people are bad or wrong. But we understand that just as if you had a seed, if you were planting an apple tree and you put an apple seed in the ground, you would not dig it back up and expose it, right? Because it needs to be in the ground, covered and protected so that it can be nourished. And even once it pops up out of the ground and it's a gentle sprout, you treat it in a certain way because you know it could still be destroyed. Right? And so this is what the hush your mouth principle is about. Talk to no one about this except God within you. In It Works by RHJ, he simply says, do not talk to anyone about your plan except the great power within you. There's someone to talk to. It's God in you. Now, a couple other notes and things that may unfold As you create this ideal scene and you start to outline and define your year, what you have also started to do, whether you realize it or not, is you've actually started to create what your goals are for the year. Because if this is your ideal scene, then out of this ideal scene, you can pull, what are my top 10 goals for the year? In order for this scene to be accomplished, what are the goals that I would have to set for myself? You see how this is supportive? And so a next step, a bonus step, is to now take that ideal scene and extract goals from them. Just 10. And then those goals, write those goals out as affirmations, right? So instead of saying, I want to have a $1 million year in my business, right? Or I want to earn $500,000 this year, right? You change that goal to an affirmation. I earn $1 million, right? I earn $5,000. I am earning $1 million. I am earning $5 million. $500,000. Or I see myself earning this amount of money. I see my business creating $1 million in profits, right? So it's a way to shift your goals. And again, this is something that Mark Allen shares in The Greatest Secret of All, that you can take your goals out of that ideal scene. Your goals are right there. Pull them out, top 10, and then write those goals as affirmations, meaning it's in the present tense and you are doing it, you are being it, you are having it now. What I know to be true, because it's just how the law works, that wherever you give your mind focus, wherever the focus of your attention is, then that's what you will begin to create from, right? That's what you will begin to attract from. You can try it the other way, right? You can just try to just live life. And here's the thing, good gets in, right? So you will still have some good things happen in your year next year. I guarantee it. But with so much uncertainty, as we are, moving into another calendar year in this global pandemic, we still have an opportunity to define our year. Yes, we're in a pandemic, and yes, we have to remain vigilant and cautious and stay safe and do all the things that are necessary. Absolutely. But in the midst of that, we still get to define our year. The pandemic alone does not define our year. And so I encourage you, come back to this sermon, grab the steps again for the ideal scene, particularly write out those questions of, I'll share them again, but those questions of, what is your ideal year? What kind of life do you have? What do you do? What do you have? What have you accomplished? What kind of person are you? I can't emphasize that one enough. Where do you live? What does a typical day look like? Does your ideal scene include a life of ease? And again, include a life of ease. Include rest. Include vacations, right? All of those beautiful things. Begin with the end in mind. We do that logically and practically in every other area of our life. So let's do it with 2022. And with that, I say amen, ashe, and so it is. So it is.
Yes. Talking loud and create nothing. Let that be your benchmark. Are you talking loud and creating nothing? Are you being intentional
Yes.
about it?
Yes.
so much good information here. Please take advantage of the ability to do this exercise and to see it work in your lives. Just saying, "Oh, it's a great idea," but not executing it is not going to help you.
Right.
We want you to be intentional.
Yes.
It's one thing to say I'm intentional. It's another thing to be intentional. And we are looking forward to you being intentional in 2022. Don't let the forecast your life.
Right. There
You are the creator of your lives.
Yes.
So powerful. Please come back to this, and please do the exercise this week. I know I'm going to, because I got some things that I want to be intentional about.
Right. To be clear, I was going to say, we will be doing our ideal scene this week.
Yes.
Make no mistake about it.
Thank you, Peachy.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And so in this moment, as you see, it is time for giving. You've seen the information through the broadcast. It's very easy to give to CSC. You can go to our website, celebrationsc.org/give, or just scroll down to the giving section. And of course, you can text to give. Text your dollar amount to 347-744-9500. There is a $10 minimum to text to give because of the fees associated with that service. But more importantly, we want you to give what feels good. Give from that good feeling. That good feeling is a feeling of knowing that you are abundant. That good feeling is a feeling of knowing that you are provided for. That good feeling is a feeling of knowing that as you give, you receive, and as you receive, you give, and as you give, you receive, just as you breathe in and breathe out. So that is the law of circulation with our breath. We practice the law of circulation with our finances, as it is a symbol of the abundance and the givingness of life and the receiving of life that has always happened. Remember, an open hand is the hand that receives. So as we give, we open our hands, and then we make room easily and effortlessly to receive. We, of course, are grateful for your gifts to CSC. It allows us to continue to do what we do as a ministry, to bring this stream to you, and also to support other organizations and support other great work that's happening here on the planet. And we're always excited to do that. I guess we'll be talking a little more about what this holiday giving will look like for CSC as well this year. But of course, we appreciate you and we appreciate your gifts. And so when we give from this knowingness, when we give from this confidence, when we give from this consciousness, then we can affirm easily and effortlessly and definitively that all the money that I use, returns to me multiplied. In a never-ending cycle.
Of
increase.
And
enjoyment. Well, again, happy holidays to each and every one of you. You see, we are all Christmas sweatered out. We're going to keep the vibe going. Month.
Yeah, if you get dressed for Sunday, put your sweaters on.
Yeah,
we're going to have our sweaters on.
Yeah, put your Christmas sweaters on. And we look forward to being back here with each and every one of you next Sunday. Also, remember, we have Momentum Prayer Call, which happens on Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But if you can't make it, you can always call in and listen to the prayer. Otherwise, we'll see you next Sunday. We look forward to being there with you. And we pray that you have an awesome remainder of your Sunday. All right?
Yes.
So y'all be well, and we'll see you next week.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.